If you're thinking about moving and you want to learn about what everyday life is going to be like in your new town, this is the place for you. On Open House, we sit down with local, top producing real estate agents to help you find the best places to live in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. So if you don't want buyer's remorse and you want to find your dream town, we are here for you. So go ahead and book a free call with us and we'll help guide you to the area that is right for you. Now, let's jump in and learn about your new home.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Open House. My name is Zach, and today we are going to be talking with Jonica Gibson about Kensington, Maryland. So it is pretty close to Chevy Chase, which is another location we've covered together. I'm really excited to talk about this. Thanks for coming on the show. What do you love about living in the Kensington, Chevy Chase area?
This area is kind of the best of both worlds in terms of having access to the city, but also access to the Capitol Beltway. And then also you get the neighborhood feel, but you're still close to the city, and in great neighborhoods. So
Cool.
and lots to do.
Well, sweet. Yeah, you're close to DC, so we'll figure out what there is to do. Just to dive into logistics, what is the population of Kensington?
So Kensington proper, and I say that because there is a town of Kensington, but if you're looking at the zip code that encompasses all of Kensington, which is 20815, it's about 20,000 people.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And is the primary type of home there, is it like a single family home or condos? What's like the main thing you'll find?
Yeah, it is primarily single family homes. You don't find a lot of condos. There's one major condo building. It's quite large, and up on University Boulevard, the Waterford. And there are some pockets of townhouses, but not large communities. But mostly, single family homes is what you'll find.
What's the median home price out there?
Yeah, so, we talked about Chevy Chase earlier, and the median price there is quite higher, but in Kensington, the median home price is about $840,000 if you're looking at single family homes.
So that's down about 300,000 or 400,000 from Chevy Chase, and that's right on the other side of the Beltway too. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so everybody talks in reference to inside or outside the Beltway. So Kensington, once you cross under the Beltway from Chevy Chase, is just outside of the Beltway. And, it's still a little bit of an urban feel, but it's primarily residential.
Gotcha.
There's some pockets where there's some shopping and things like that, which we can talk
Cool.
about.
So I want to cover economics, like what are people doing for work? Again, like there's a lot of federal jobs out in the area, and I know that we've also talked about doctors, lawyers. Would you say that maybe law is like the second most common field of practice, or what's the deal in Kensington?
Yeah, I would say probably. I always say that lawyers are a dime a dozen around here. Kensington is no exception. So yeah, it's very similar to a lot of the other communities close by in southern Montgomery County, where you have attorneys, you have political consultants, federal consultants that work in DC. In Kensington, it's not really it's not really known for having major industry there.
Sure.
But there are some things that are special about Kensington, why people live there. But it's very similar to a lot of the suburbs where people work in the city or around the Beltway.
How long does it take to get into DC from Kensington?
To get to the district line, it is about, so you shoot the major corridor is Connecticut Avenue. And, from the heart of Kensington, it's about 4 miles to the district line, and which is upper northwest DC. So without traffic, you could probably be there in 15 minutes or less, depending on the lights. And but to get to the heart of the city, like if you're going to the Capitol or the Washington Monument,
Yeah.
again, without traffic, that's probably 40-minute, 45-minute drive.
Okay. Good for people to know. I want to touch on history because that is what makes a place what it is. So what's the maybe one piece of interesting history that's unique to Kensington?
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier that there's the town of Kensington, which is in the heart of Kensington, and that is its own, they have their own council for that part of Kensington, and it was settled originally in the 1890s and developed by developer Bernard Warner, and he began purchasing land parcels to build a Victorian planned community. So you'll find a lot of Victorian homes that look quite historic, and it's the town of Kensington. That original area is complete with a church, a library, and a local newspaper, and it's a very charming area. And today, what it looks like is now there's an antique row district where people love to antique. There's a farmer's market. There's the MARC train station. Those are kind of hubs of the heart of Kensington. Landmark in Kensington that you can see from the Capitol Beltway, and it literally looks like the Oz castle, like Wizard of Oz, because it is white and it has these gold spires. And when you're on the Beltway traveling westward, you look like you're going to run into it. And I remember the first time I saw that in the 90s when I came to DC, I was like, what in the world is that castle? It's the Mormon temple. It's called technically the Washington, DC temple. It's closed to the public, except at Christmas time, they have a festival of lights where they decorate all the trees outdoors with beautiful Christmas lights. And it is an attraction after Thanksgiving and through New Year's. People can drive through there and look at the beautiful lights. So I could not mention Kensington without bringing up the Mormon temple.
Cool. Well, and we'll touch on things to do in just a second, because I am curious about that downtown area. But in regards to schools, if you have kids in the home and you're wanting to put them in school, what are like the main high schools to look out for in the area so that they can do their own research?
Right. So Kensington is in Montgomery County. So the public schools are run by Montgomery County Public Schools. And there are 3 high school clusters. When you're looking in Montgomery County at real estate, people ask about the high school cluster because that kind of dictates, honestly, the housing prices, depending on how the schools are rated. So there are actually 3 clusters. There's the Bethesda Chevy Chase cluster, ironically, which is close by. Walter Johnson cluster, which is technically in Bethesda. And then there's the Albert Einstein High School, which is in North Kensington. So those are the 3 school clusters. And then there are options for independent schools. There's there's a Grace Episcopal School and a Holy Redeemer Catholic School, and then Academy of Holy Cross, which is an all-girls Catholic school.
Okay.
So there's several options.
Yeah, it's good to have a variety of choices when it comes to schools. I come from an area where there wasn't. so yeah, that's awesome. So let's talk about things to do. If we're talking about this downtown area in Kensington, you had mentioned some like antique shops, which kind of correlates to the history. What are, just a couple things that people do in that downtown area and maybe other parts of Kensington or even nearby towns on, let's say, a weekend?
Sure. So, Kensington is a bit of an attraction because of Antique Row. And you can find everything from antiques for furniture, clothing, books. And it is just a fun place to hang out if you want to walk around. There's a farmer's market on Saturdays. There's an ice cream shop. There are restaurants and locally owned places that are quite popular. Frankly Pizza, Knowles Station, K-Town Bistro are some of the local restaurants people love to frequent with their families. And then there's a shopping center that has kind of this mid-century modern feel to it. It's been there, I think, probably since the 50s. or 60s, called Kensington Shopping Center. And that one, it's special because you have Strassnyder's hardware store, and it is a local chain, but it is kind of like a charming place to, it's like a Home Depot and Home Goods wrapped into one, and very friendly staff. And, sometimes I just go in there and you can always find something you need there, whether it's a plant for your porch or some paint. But they also have doormats and kitchenware. So, but that shopping center has a coffee shop, a nail shop, dry cleaners, a couple of restaurants in there as well, and a 7-Eleven. So it's kind of like, and a Chipotle. Yeah, so it has kind of like this nostalgic feel to it as well. And then also there's the industrial area along Howard Drive that has, furniture restoration, metalworks. There's just a lot of neat things in Kensington that I'm still discovering after living close by for the last 10 or 14 years now. So it is kind of the hub of Kensington. People love it. It's quite popular.
Yeah, sounds like a lot to explore. So that's good. What about like things to do outdoors in Kensington, maybe surrounding cities, but also within a few hours, because people who love the outdoors, they're willing to drive a ways to do something cool. So what's the nature like in the area?
So there are a couple areas I would say are popular. Just outside the Beltway in South Kensington, you have Beach Drive, which it's a road, but it actually closes on the weekend so people can run and bike. And it is a part of the Rock Creek Trail that goes into DC. You can easily take that trail and all the way into the district, Rock Creek Forest, into the district. That will take you by the National Zoo and into the city if you want to go for a nice long bike ride. And then there are a number of races. In the fall, there's the Kensington run and race. I think it's an 8K or a 10K that you can run. It's a very family-friendly run that's held in September. But yeah, in the area, of course you have DC that's known for its parks and trails and things like that, but you can easily hop on the Beltway, drive to Great Falls, Virginia, where the water falls along the Potomac River. It's a nice, more hiking, and often see people really using the Rock Creek Trail along Beach Drive to be outdoors.
Maryland area, and I know that that's something that people really like about it. So that's on is events. I know a lot of communities do a ton of different events. What would you say is like the main event that sticks out about Kensington?
The Kensington loves and has an adorable Labor Day parade. Yes, it is a big deal, and it is so much fun, and the kids like to get on their bikes and tricycles and ride along with it as well. But it is such a fun time to be in Kensington, and the town does a really great job of having that event. But I talked about the farmers market. That is always great on Saturdays. Oftentimes there'll be live music when it's nice out for that, and it's even if you don't want to buy anything, just to sit outside and listen to music is always nice.
Cool. Yeah, it's farmers markets seem really common in the area too, so you can always find one even if it's not in your town. So that's cool. Yeah, Kensington seems like a really cool place, and it's so a little bit bigger population than Chevy Chase, which we've talked about, but it's slightly more affordable, which is good. So yeah, thanks for coming on the show today and sharing what you know about Kensington, and I hope that our viewers learned something new.
Thanks so much for having me. Have a good one.